Hey, what's up guys? Chip here. Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG online video where today I'm going to actually be starting a brand new series, something I'm pretty excited about and I hope you guys will enjoy. This is going to be called Ways to Play, where we're going to take a look at a new card and we're going to look at different ways to potentially utilize it in the current format. Really just talking about standard here. I am currently looking at the, breakthrough through Celestial Storm format, so the 2018 Worlds format, but a lot of these cards, are basically all of them honestly, I think are usable in the post-rotation format. So whether you're playing for Worlds, you're playing for the Nashville Open, or if you're just preparing for the upcoming season, the 2018-2019 season, I think there should be a lot of good information in this video for you guys. So yeah, ways to play. The idea behind this is we're just going to talk about a bunch of different cards in the format that synergize well with Rayquaza GX. Now I'm not saying I necessarily think that all of these cards are, good with Rayquaza GX. I'm just talking about cards that have synergy with Rayquaza that can be used with it. And we're going to talk about, why they might be good, why they might be bad. And just kind of, talk through different things. So I'm excited about this. Let me know if you guys enjoy this general idea of a video. If you do, I'll definitely try to make more for some of the other GX cards as they come out in the future and some of the other ones in Celestial Storm potentially. But yeah, without further ado, we'll just go ahead and hop in and we'll get a little music playing. And we'll look at Rayquaza GX first off, the 180 HP Dragon-type basic Pokemon with Stormy Winds. You guys probably know what this card does, but we'll just go over it for the sake of the video. When you put this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may discard the top 3 cards of your deck. If you do, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So we get to get extra energies in play, and it synergizes, of course, well with the attack, Dragon Break, 30 damage times the amount of basic grass and basic lightning energy attached to your Pokemon. So, if we have a lot of lightning and grass energy in play, we can just ramp up our damage pretty quickly and do a lot of damage to our opponent's active Pokemon on a basic. This is a really just inherently powerful ability, an inherently powerful attack. And yeah, it's a card I think is going to be really good in the Worlds format as well as post-rotation coming up in the future. Tempest GX, also the GX attack here. Discard your hand and draw 10 cards. Pretty useful. Can discard some energy cards for us to get back later on with Stormy Winds and things like that. Weakness to Fairy. It does have 3 retreat, which we'll talk about. That's actually a little relevant. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, we're just going to talk about some of the excuse me, Pokemon and other things that synergize well with it. Things that I think could potentially be useful with Rayquaza GX. First off, the obvious inclusion, I think, in most Rayquaza decks, if not all Rayquaza decks, is going to be Latias Prism Star, also coming out in Celestial Storm, with the Dreamy Mist attack. For a colorless, it does 30. Attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of your basic benched Dragon Pokemon. So some nice energy recovery. Pokes away at our opponent's side of the field a little bit as well, so we can, need one less energy maybe to take a knockout on that Pokemon in the future. And it just sets up potentially multiple Rayquazas for us. So Latias Prism Star, Rayquaza were obviously just made to go together, right? This card is obviously just really good with Rayquaza GX, and yeah, so I think we'll see this in a lot of Rayquaza decks. Another similar type option could be Raikou from Shining Legends with the Booming Thunder attack. For a lightning, it does 30. Attach a lightning energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. So a little more energy acceleration can let us get more energies in play. Obviously, Latias is a Prism Star card, which means we can only play 1 in the deck. Obviously, Latias is just strictly better than Raikou, but since we can only play 1 Latias, if we wanted additional, energy recovery, energy acceleration, Raikou could be a potential good option. I think Raikou might be a little too slow for how aggressive Rayquaza GX wants to be in the current format, especially with things like Max Elixir to power it up and get things moving along. It does have 120 HP. Maybe if this guy had 130, it would be slightly better. 120 just basically makes it a free prize for Zoroark GX decks, which is something we kind of want to avoid. So ultimately, I don't think Raikou will be worth it. Another potential option is Manectric from the new set. with the Electric Start ability. If you go second and if this Pokemon is in your hand when you are setting up to play, you may put it face down as your active Pokemon or on your bench. And then Double Charge does 40 damage. You may attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon. So I think this is also a card that has potential with Rayquaza. Obviously, it synergizes pretty well. You can attach 2 basic energy cards so they can be either type Grass or Lightning, since Rayquaza does use both types. 40 damage, not too bad. Free Retreat, pretty good. Obviously, the ability is solid. If we're going second, we can attack with it. But we have to open it in our hands to really get that full value out of the ability. And otherwise, I mean, you'd probably need to play like at least a 2-2 line of this, probably like 3-3, honestly, to make it worth it. So you're just taking up a lot of deck space, and there's just a lot of cards that do it better currently, things like Max Elixir, I think. So I think Manectric might be a better option for Rayquaza GX decks post-rotation, but currently in the Worlds format, I don't think Manectric is a good option, but it's definitely something to keep on your mind for the future. Talk about some of the other energy acceleration Pokemon. Of course, got Vikavolt. We've seen Vikavolt Tapu Bulu be really powerful in the past. Strong Charge. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may search your deck for a Grass energy card and a Lightning energy card and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, then shuffle your deck. So it just gets extra energies in play. And I honestly like Vikavolt Rayquaza more than I like Vikavolt Tapu Bulu, because Bulu, you know, you're discarding the energy, but Rayquaza, you get to keep your energies around, you get to keep them in play, use them multiple turns in a row, so you can really ramp up your damage pretty quickly. The problem, I think, with Vikavolt, obviously, is that it is a Stage 2, might be a little too much to get going with Rayquaza. Obviously, with Rayquaza, you're also just going to be discarding cards from your deck, so there's a chance you're going to discard those important cards like Rare Candy, things like, you know, Heavy Ball potentially to search out the Vikavolt, which we can also search out Rayquaza, which we'll talk about more in a little bit. As far as other Stage 2 Pokemon go, we've also got Venusaur here with Jungle Totem. Each basic Grass energy attached to your Pokemon provides 2 Grass energy. You can't apply more than 1 Jungle Totem ability at the same time, so this is really solid. It allows Rayquaza's damage to just be, basically each Grass energy counts for 60 damage as opposed to just 30, and I kind of do like this version a little better than something like Vikavolt. You know, Venusaur's a little beefier, it's got 160 HP, it's really hard for anyone to knock out this support Pokemon, whereas things like Buzzwole can pretty easily knock out Vikavolt. And while you don't get like the energy acceleration built in, you need less energy in play with Venusaur. So I like that option, just to, you know, basically when you use a Stormy Winds, you're putting a Grass energy from your discard pile onto a Rayquaza. You're putting 60 damage in play. If you attach another energy, that's 120 damage just from attach and ability. And that's just one ability. You can use multiple abilities, so you can really ramp up the damage pretty quickly with Jungle Totem, I think. And something else that, you know, might synergize well with Jungle Totem could be some of these Grass-type Pokemon. We've got Pheromosa GX. Cruel Spike, your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused, and Beauty GX. This is a good late-game option in like a Rayquaza Venusaur deck, I think. This attack does 50 damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. So if they've taken a lot of knockouts, we don't have a lot of energy in play, Beauty GX can come in, and for just 1 Grass energy with the Venusaur's Jungle Totem ability, we can come in and just clean up a knockout, take our last 2 prizes. So I think this is definitely a solid option, but kind of riding this vein, we are looking at Ultra Beasts here now. We've got Pheromosa GX as an Ultra Beast. There's also this 1 prize Pheromosa. White Ray does 90 damage. If you only have 1 prize remaining, it does 90 more damage. While I don't think this card is great, with a Choice Band and 1 energy, you can do 100 damage to a Lycanroc GX, so that's not the worst. It does have Free Retreat, and it is an Ultra Beast, so one of the potential options, I think, for energy acceleration could be Beast Ring. So whenever your opponent does take like the first knockout on a Rayquaza GX, you could potentially turn on Beast Rings and just get more energies in play that way on things like Pheromosa GX, also Xurkitree GX with the Flashing Head ability, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any special energy attached to them. So I think this is solid, especially with so many Zoroark decks being so popular. Lighting GX is a solid GX attack as well. Rumbling Wires has a little bit of a mill option, like hitting for 100 while your opponent's not able to hit you back and you're discarding a card from their deck is pretty solid. and I think, you know, this could be a good way to play some of these Ultra Beast Pokemon. We've also got the Baby Xurkitree, which is also an Ultra Beast. Dazzle Blast for a lightning. Your opponent's active is now confused, not the worst attack. And then Cablegram, 100 damage. If you have exactly 3 prize cards remaining, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. So this is extremely situational, of course, but I like that this is something that you can control as opposed to something like Beast Ring and Sledgehammer. Those are things that your opponent controls, right? You can figure out how you want to map out your prizes throughout the game and maybe get Cablegram in for a turn to buy yourself a turn. I don't know that I love this, though, because obviously your opponent can just play a Guzma and get out of it pretty effectively. So this might not be necessarily worth the spot in like a Rayquaza Ultra Beasts deck. But, you know, it is definitely interesting. Continuing on with Lightning-type Pokemon, we've got Lantern here with the Energy Grounding ability, also coming from Celestial Storm. When one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move a basic energy card from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. So it's a way to just keep your energy cards in play so that you keep that damage around. And it's not like something like Experience Share or Wistful Baton. Those can be field blowered away. Energy Grounding is an ability. It can't be taken away besides something like Garbotoxin, Garbodor, and post-rotation, that's not something that's going to be an issue, right? And then Lightning Strike, 70 damage. You may discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 70 more damage. So 140 for 3 with a Choice Band, that's 170, and that can take knockouts on those Pokemon like Tapu Lele that are so popular in the format currently. So I do think Lantern is kind of interesting. I don't know that any Stage 1 or Stage 2 is the best way to play Rayquaza right now. Like I said, I do kind of like the Venusaur deck, but I think just playing a straightforward, you know, turbo-built style of Rayquaza is probably the best option right now. But I will, as we continue on here, I will be doing videos on a lot of these different variants because I want to, you know, cover them, see why they would be good, see why they would be bad, things like that. So one other Lightning-type Pokemon I just realized I forgot to put in here is Taboo Cocoa Gx, which is something I think, you know, is pretty obvious combo. A lot of people have obviously been talking about this. The ability Arrow Trail. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may move any number of lightning basic energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. If you do, switch this Pokemon with your active Pokemon. So as we bring it into play, you know, we just get to move it to the active spot, put a bunch of energies on it. Sky High Claws does 130, which is a solid number to hit. We'll knock out things like Baby Buzzwole. We're a lightning type, but we're not weak to fighting. There's no weakness or resistance here on the Tapus, of course. And then also Tapu Thunder GX, a pretty decent GX attack option. This attack does 50 damage times the amount of energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. So if our opponent overcommits, against things like Buzzwole especially, this is really good because they're going to have a lot of energies in play a lot of the time. So Tapu Thunder can come in and take a knockout on something like a Lycanroc GX potentially, if that's something we would have an issue dealing with. So I definitely like Tapu Cocoa. Let's talk about a couple of the just consistency Pokemon that I think a lot of Rayquaza decks will use. Of course, a Ringaroo I think is the first one that most people will put in their decks. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. Most Rayquaza decks are going to be playing Mysterious Treasure and Ultra Ball. You can thin your hand down to low sizes pretty easily and use Instruct, and it's also good late game if you get into 1 or 2. Instruct can be an out to draw some more cards. Another option I haven't seen as many people talk about, but I do kind of like, is the Sableye from the new set with the Excavate ability. Once during your turn, before you attack, you may look at the top card of your deck. You may discard that card. So a little bit of a thinning option. It can let you, you know, potentially get a energy in the discard pile, and it is optional, right? Like, you just get to peep the top card of your deck. You can decide to discard it, or you can decide to just put it back. So I like that option. And Disable is not the worst attack ever, honestly. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon can't use that attack during your opponent's next turn. So maybe if our opponent is like low on Guzmas, low on switching cards or Floatstone, something like that, Disable can come up and buy us some turns to reestablish our board. So I think Sableye is a solid option, honestly, in Rayquaza decks. I'm going to have to test it out as well to see if I end up liking it. And I think the last Pokemon to talk about here is going to be Garbotoxin and Garbodor. Now you may see this and think, Chip, we need abilities in our deck. Why would we want to shut them down with Garbotoxin and Garbodor? And the thing is honestly, most of the time you just need abilities the first couple of turns, but Garbotoxin Garbodor can shut down things like Trade on our opponent's side of the field to give us a chance, to give us a better, you know, option against Zoroark GX decks. And I've seen a lot of people using Garbodor in their Rayquaza decks. I've seen 1-1 lines, 2-1, even 2-2, so it's obviously something I think people are trying out. You're already playing a lot of Float Stones in this deck because you want to get Rayquaza GX to the active as fast as possible, so it just makes sense that you would throw Garbodor in the deck as well. Sure, you are shutting down your own Stormy Winds, but later on in the game, generally you're thinking, hey, I probably won't honestly care. I would rather ability lock my opponent, and I've already got my board set up, so I'm not too worried about it. So that's the Pokemon I wanted to talk about. Let me know if there's any others I missed that you guys think would be good. Obviously, Tapu Lele GX, a card that'll be included in every Rayquaza GX deck, but let's move on to the trainers and just talk about some of those. We already talked about Beastring. Obviously, Acrobike got reprinted in the new set. I don't have any of the new ones yet, or the secret rare, but there is a nice shiny secret rare. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them in your hand, discard the other. So just lets you dig through your deck a little faster, helps you get to your Rayquazas, helps you discard energies, and just get more energies in play. So Acrobike is obviously solid. Heavy Ball is an option I like, especially in the Stage 2 deck options, things like Venusaur and Vikavolt, since you can search out those evolutions, but you can also use it to search out Rayquaza GX, because he does have a 3 retreat cost. So it's a free search for Rayquaza GX, and you can just put it onto the bench to get that ability moving. So I do like Heavy Ball as a potential option. Obviously, Mysterious Treasure works very well. Discard a card from your hand, which is great. We want discarding cards so we can get rid of Lightning and Grass energies. If you do search your deck for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So helps us find Lele, helps us find Rayquaza, can find Latias Prism Star, all those things. If we're playing the Garbodor version, we can find the Garbodor line. So Mysterious Treasure, obvious combo. Also Ultra Ball, I didn't put Ultra Ball up here, but it's a pretty obvious inclusion, I would think, most of the time. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So discarding 2 cards can be good to help us get rid of some energies, things like that. We do have Pal Pad as an option as well. I like some recovery cards in this deck, since we are, you know, milling a lot of our own deck most of the time. We're going to find ourselves discarding cards we don't want to. You know, maybe we want to get Guzma's back for later on in the game. So shuffle 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your deck. Definitely a solid option. We've got Rescue Stretcher. I think I would probably stick to playing 2 copies of this card in basically any Rayquaza deck. You want to be able to get your Rayquazas back. You want to get any of your other Pokemon back, like Tapu Lele. If you're playing one of the evolution, you know, decks, you're definitely going to want Rescue Stretchers even more, because as you mill through your deck, you'll discard cards that you didn't want to. Also, if things get knocked out, of course, it's just good to have access to Rescue Stretcher. And I like Rescue Stretcher over Super Rod because we want energies to stay in the discard pile a lot of the time so that we can use Rayquaza's ability, but we want Stretcher to just put... Like, we can, after Rayquaza gets knocked out, we can play Stretcher, immediately put it from our discard back into our hand, and then put it back onto our bench and get energies back into play, which is all we really care about with this deck. Devoured Field is a stadium I really like. I've seen people kind of talking about this and Parallel City. I really like Devoured Field. It lets you hit significant numbers, like you can hit for 130, you can hit for 160, you can hit for 190. All of those are relevant numbers that you need, basically, so against Buzzwole GX, 190 HP, normally you would need 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. You need either 5 energies in a Choice Band or 6 energies in play in order to take a knockout on Buzzwole. But with Devoured Field, you only need 5 energies in play or 4 in a Choice Band. So it really makes it a little easier to hit specific numbers, which I like, being a little more aggressive with Devoured Field. I don't think you really care about Garbotoxin Garbodor too much. So I haven't been playing Field Blower in any of my lists. If you really care about it that much, you can try to just get a Guzma off and knock it out. But like we said, like, you use most of your abilities in the first couple turns, so by the time Garbotoxin becomes a factor, you normally don't care about it as much. So I like Devoured Field as an option over like Blower or Parallel City, because it's a response to opposing Parallel Cities, which you definitely want to get rid of if you can. Whereas if you were playing your own Parallel City and you get paralleled, and we don't play Field Blower, we're just going to be stuck under Parallel and have these dead Parallel Cities in our hand for the rest of the game. But Parallel City, of course, is still an option, still a solid card. yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Rayquaza decks are going to be playing it. I don't think it's that bad. You can choose which way it faces, so you can limit your own bench if you're going up against like a... I like the option of it as well because you can turn it the other way with the red side facing your opponent if your opponent's playing something like Zoroark Golisopod, so you can make it so that their GX attack on Golisopod can't knock out a Rayquaza. But, you know, a lot of those decks do play heavy Field Blower anyway, so usually with trades and stuff they can figure out a way to get that Parallel City out of play. I've got Volkner in here. I just wanted to talk about this real quick. I think this is a good option in the decks like the Venusaur and like the Vikavolt. It's a way you can search out rare candy, but also get an energy in your hand, which you can use to discard. You can use it as your attachment. So I think Volkner gives you a lot of options in that aspect in those specific versions of the deck. But I don't think I would play Volkner in just like a standard Turbo Rayquaza style deck. We got some tools here, a lot of different tool options in the format for Rayquaza. Choice Band and Fury Belt, I think there's a big argument between these two right now. Fury Belt obviously gives you the extra HP, slightly better against things like Buzzwole, I guess. But I honestly don't think the Buzzwole matchup is that bad if you just play Choice Bands. Like, I think it's actually like a totally fine matchup. So I prefer Choice Bands because I just want to get to those higher damage outputs faster and, you know, be more aggressive. Fury Belts are a lot more passive. Fury Belt is better against things like Sylveon EX, which are out there trying to counter Rayquazas, but the decks that play Sylveon EX are going to be playing, you know, multiple Field Blowers to all of the Zoroark decks, so I don't think Fury Belt is a good answer to Sylveon EX. I think a better answer to Sylveon EX, honestly, would just be Choice Bands, so you make it easier to respond and knock out the Sylveon EX after it knocks you out. So yeah, I definitely prefer Choice Band. A lot of people are playing Fury Belts, though. I think I'm going to start basically all of my builds with Choice Band, though. Of course, Floatstone is going to be really important in this deck. We want to get Rayquaza into the active as quickly as possible, so heavy Floatstone counts are going to be important. And then we've also got Wishful Baton as an option. I've seen a couple of people play this card. I'm not too sure how I feel about it. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, move up to 3 basic energy cards from that Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon. So this would obviously be really good against things like Buzzwole GX that rarely play Field Blower, and if they do, they normally just play one copy, so they don't have a great way to find that one copy of the card. So Wishful Baton would be good there, but against all the Zoroark decks, you're just basically never going to get use out of this, because they're always going to find Field Blower, they're always going to get rid of this. So I don't really love passive tools like this. Same thing goes for Experience Share, honestly. I think like Experience Share is definitely an option, but kind of the same thing, right? Your opponent's usually going to be able to get rid of it to make it so you don't get good value out of it. So I don't know that I love either of these cards. I guess you could potentially play something like the new Pyroar with the Unnerve to make it so that you know, if you put an Experience Share on it, it never gets, you know, removed or anything like that. But then you're playing a 1-1 or 2-1, something like that, evolution line, and I don't think any of these Stage 1 evolution Pokemon are that great. Oh yeah, one more Pokemon I kind of wanted to talk about is the new Delcatty from the new set. Looks like I don't have any yet, but here it is right here. With the, where did it go? Search for Friends ability. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may put 2 supporter cards from your discard pile into your hand. So I actually do kind of think this is a pretty cool card. It's kind of like Palpad, but you get to get them back to your hand immediately, but it is a Stage 1. If this was an ability on a basic, I think the ability would be really, really good. It would be a really good card. A lot of decks would play it, but being on a Stage 1, it's just not too great, honestly. But I think like it is a potential option to get back, you know, something like, you know, that last Guzma you need to win the game, something like that. But there you go, guys. That's kind of my thoughts on Rayquaza GX and ways to play it. Let me know what you think about this video series. If you enjoy it, please let me know. Leave a like down below. Let me know some of your thoughts about what are your favorite ways to play Rayquaza. I think ultimately the best way is going to end up being just the straightforward aggro version with Acrobikes. and all that stuff, just milling through your deck for Mysterious Treasure, for Ultra Ball, for Professor Sycamore, just digging through your deck as fast as possible. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if there's anything I missed that you think I should have talked about. Let me know what your favorite version is going to be, and let me know what card from Celestial Storm you'd like to see me do a video like this on next. I definitely enjoyed doing this, and I'd like to do more of them, so leave a like if you enjoyed, guys. Thank you so much for watching. That's going to do it for me. Until next time, take care.